Hey, what's up creatures? It's Em and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you what happened when I introduced Noodle to Dobby and Niffler. Ferrets have got to be the cutest, most amazing small pet. Small. Niffler's not that small. Oh no, Niffler, are you stuck? Oh, darling.
Mother, help, please.
Small pets on the planet, bar none. They're fun, frisky, energetic, and so cute. But they can also make you want to pull your hair out because they can be horrible to one another, especially when you're introducing a brand new ferret into the clique. So today I'm going to be running you through all the steps I took when introducing my new ferret Noodle to my other ferrets Dobby and Niffler. And let me tell you something, Dobby rules with an iron fist and Noodle will not get away unscathed. But before we jump into today's video, I would love to give a huge thank you and shout out to today's sponsor, Ana Luisa. If you haven't heard of Ana Luisa, they are a luxury jewelry company without the luxury price tag. Whether you're shopping for yourself or a gift for a loved one this holiday season, Ana Luisa has you covered. Today I'm wearing 3 different pieces of jewelry by Ana Luisa. I am wearing these amazing gold hoop earrings. They're really comfy and they don't pull. Also, randomly my hair doesn't get caught in them a lot, whereas with other hoops they have in the past. But these are just the perfect size, and there's also a little opening at the back here, so when I'm actually pulling my hair back they don't get caught in the hoops. I'm also wearing possibly my favorite piece that I've ever purchased from Ana Luisa, this gorgeous necklace. It's super shiny and has a sun on the front, but then also if it happens to flip or if I decide to turn it around, there's a darker side on the back. It kind of reminds me of day and night or yin and yang, so I really love it. I'm also wearing this beautiful ring, which to me is almost reminiscent of some of the larger luxury brands out there, but I'm not a fan of larger luxury price tags. And if you're environmentally conscious, what's great news is that Ana Luisa creates all of their jewelry in small batches, so there's no waste. Ana Luisa only uses the finest noble metals in creating their pieces, which means that they are long-lasting and high quality. There's also a 365-day warranty on every single piece, not to mention worldwide shipping available. If you're social, be sure to check out the Ana Luisa Instagram for different kinds of inspiration. You can find them at Ana Luisa NY. Or if you just want to jump right in there and check out their collection and their amazing holiday sales, check out the description box down below where I've got a link directly to the Ana Luisa website. Thank you so much to Ana Luisa for sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to some fun ferrety goodness. For some background context on today's video, feel free to go down into my description box below where you will find essentially what is part 1 to this video when I first brought home Noodle. I go through how I set him up for quarantine, how I actually found him during what is essentially a ferret shortage, and how he was settling in his first few days. In today's video, I will run you through how I moved Noodle into the animal room, as well as what happened when I introduced him to Dobby and Niffler for the first time, and different ways that I've managed to get them to accept him more into their group, and what the next steps from here are. Oakley dokley. So for those of you who were not watching my last video, number 1, shame on you, should go and watch it. But number 2, this over here is a temporary setup, which is actually just half of this enclosure over here. It's essentially, I had 2 of this enclosure, but I'm just using half of it over here. So Noodle is over here, he's my new boy, and then Dobby and Niffler are hanging out in this enclosure. And it's all set within this playpen, which is just looking disastrous right now. But Noodle, when he first came home, had to go into quarantine, which is why he's in this separate setup. I would never suggest that the second you bring home a new ferret from a pet store that you just simply put them straight away with your other two or however many ferrets you have at home. The reason being that in a pet store, they've got very high footfall. There's a lot of animals coming in and out of a pet store, and you just don't know what could be on or inside your ferret and its fecal matter. So a great thing to do is just separate them in another room just for, I'd say, 2.5 to 3 weeks. That's what I did with Noodle, and then slowly you can begin to make introductions. And that's why I have brought Noodle down into this room, which is, it's my animal room. There's those animals. But we're focusing on ferrets today, and I've left these two enclosures close enough that they can get their noses to pretty much touch in the middle, but not close enough that they can bite each other through the bars or grab each other or do anything horrible like that. And this has been working out really, really well. Some people like to say that for first introductions, you should do it on neutral ground. For example, in a bathroom, you just sort of put the ferrets there and they do their thing. I've tried this, and honestly, controversial, I know, I don't like the method because there's no barrier there. I prefer to have a barrier and allow them to sniff each other through the barrier. What some people do is they'll simply hold two ferrets, one in each hand, and they will hold them close enough to each other to have a sniff and to get a general idea that there's another ferret there. But for me, that's a bit like allowing two dogs to meet on leash. When that happens, it's often high tension, they feel a little bit constricted. So this is my preferred method, and I'm sure there's going to be lots of people who say it's incorrect because it's Dobby and Niffler's territory, but honestly, it's just something I've always done with my ferrets, and it's always worked out really well. Just slow introductions, letting them get used to each other's smells and used to seeing each other and eating around each other. So that's just, for me, the easier way to do things. Noodle's being very cute right now. It also gives Noodle a chance to get used to being around ferrets, period, because he has been raised as a solo ferret for a bit of time. And he, at first, when I moved him down here, didn't really know what was going on, and he was a bit afraid of Dobby and Niffler. He would actually hide a little bit and just sort of go in his little hidey hole. I'm at the stage now where they've actually had a meeting, which I filmed on my phone so that I was more able to jump in and separate everybody if something bad happened. So I'm going to roll that footage now, and I hope you'll enjoy the very first meeting between Dobby, Niffler, and Noodle. So at the same time that Niffler blew his coat, Dobby also blew her undercoat as well for the winter. However, I noticed after a few days that her new coat wasn't coming in nicely, and I also noticed that her fur on her tail was really sparse. She also started to really rapidly lose a ton of weight. She pretty much halved her weight in the space of about a week and a half, which is absolutely insane and not a good sign, especially for a ferret who's getting up there in age. So I made an appointment and I took her to one of the ferret specialist vets that was recommended to me by the Mile High Ferret Club here in Denver. The vet was fantastic with Dobby. He tested for insulinoma a few different times to make sure that the level was correct, and it came back that Dobby did not have insulinoma. However, we decided to go ahead and treat for adrenal disease, which is very common in ferrets, and we chose to do this because with testing, time is of the essence, and the earlier that you catch and treat adrenal, the easier it is to be able to have a ferret manage it better and live a longer life. So rather than go ahead and submit the test, we just went ahead and treated it. And the way we did that was by putting a special implant which releases a hormone under Dobby's skin. It's about the same size as a really tiny grain of rice, and it's very much the same kind of procedure as having your dog microchipped. So it wasn't invasive and she didn't notice the shot at all, and that did the trick. She is slowly gaining a bit more weight and she's back on eating her regular food and being mischievous and dominant, because she's Dobby. A few days later, I went downstairs and to my horror, I saw Dobby lying there with her eyes open, her mouth open, and her tongue hanging out. I rushed upstairs, I grabbed some critical care thinking that we'd misdiagnosed her, she had to have insulinoma, what if she was in a coma? But she surprised us again. Would you believe this? That is Dobby, who I thought was in some kind of a coma or sick, and she happened to be in dead sleep. So I got her some critical care just now, and now I suppose Noodle has decided that he's having the critical care, and Dobby has decided to come back to life just to terrorize Noodle. So there we go. Isn't that just wonderful? Apparently Dobby comes back from the dead just to be mean and to be a bully. How lovely. I have opened... Oh, sweetheart! Oh my goodness. All right, well, Niffler, let's fish you out. Everybody is coming out on their own volition apart from Niffler because he'll take forever. And I'm leaving this pen open. So if Dobby comes out, it's the first time that Dobby has ever explored out of the pen. There is Noodle at the back. Noodle's also having a little sniff. Noodle is not Dobby's favourite ferret, so you could see that she was going to give him a little roll. The idea behind allowing all of the ferrets to explore a new place together is to allow them a break from always playing in the same space together. I noticed that Noodle, being so young and energetic, is constantly getting on Dobby's nerves. So giving them all a new space to enjoy together theoretically should mean that Dobby won't be picking on Noodle quite so much because she'll be too busy doing something else, and forming positive associations between Dobby, Niffler, Noodle, and a new space. So Niffler has successfully managed to climb on top of the playpen. Noodle is also trying, but he's not having quite as much luck, which is surprising because Niffler is not normally the best climber, but he did find their little toy box. And Dobby is attacking the products that I was going to be reviewing. And of course, I do also have to very gently nip train Noodle as well, because although Noodle is a very gentle ferret, the more that he plays with my two ferrets, the more he applies a little bit more force. So I don't know, let me see if I can get you to focus in on this. He didn't break the skin, he was just holding on a bit harder than I would have liked. So I just gently told him, no thank you. And I moved him away and the play stops. And they're smart enough to understand that if they want to play and they're being too rough, that they have to chill out because otherwise the play stops. Oh, I'm being judged. Hello. Meanwhile, I like what I'm seeing over here. Niffler is testing out one of Noodle's beds, which is great. He's showing interest in Noodle's scent. Down here, Dobby's being a bully. Oh, that's good. She ignored Noodle. We like that. She didn't immediately jump on him and start to put him in his place. But she, oh, well, I spoke too soon. There we go. He knows the tunnels mean safety. So yes, I spoke a bit too soon. She was following him and needed to just be rude. So how do you know when you should separate ferrets when they are play fighting or establishing dominance? Well, there's a very famous saying within the ferret community: no blood, no pee, no poop, no foul. Which basically means if there's no blood, no pee, and no poop, it's all good and you should let it continue, because otherwise the next time they fight, it could potentially escalate. So, as long as there's no pee, no poop, no blood, just let them go. Let them go. I love this silhouette of Dave just hanging out through my curtains. That brings me a lot of joy. But what we're going to do today is, since I have a ton of editing to do, I am going to be putting Noodle in with Dobby and Niffler. Ooh, how very exciting that you're doing that on camera for the first time. Hello, don't gape at me. That's very, very rude. Just for your information, this is not the final looking enclosure for Norbert. He's going to have some magnaturals up the side over here, some nice branches that just go all the way from one side of the enclosure to the other, and then a nice pool, because right now he just has a soaking dish and I'd rather that he's able to soak his whole body at once. But yes, there he is. He's just hanging out, showing off in a video that's supposed to be for the ferrets. So, ignoring my weirdo bearded dragon, I'm going to be doing a ton of editing today, which means I'm going to be in this room pretty much from right now all the way till probably very early in the morning. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to move Noodle in to Dobby and Niffler's enclosure. Obviously they might not get along, but I'll be right here. What I'd like to do is start getting everyone, including Noodle, used to the thought that he will also eventually be sleeping in here. So I'm going to go ahead and move him. If it gets too out of hand, then of course I will move him back. It's important that he has his safety and we don't rush the process. But it is the next step, so let's see how this goes. Hey Noodle. So straight away, I have a feeling Dobby's somewhere down here, so she's not going to be too happy about this. But we're just going to see how this goes. And I'm going to be literally right here in case things pop off in a manner that I think is too much for Noodle or for Dobby and Niffler right now. There's Dobby. She knows he's in there. Now, Noodle doesn't really know how to get upstairs just yet, I don't think, but Dobby gave him a little roll. She's not pursuing him again just yet. Now, in an ideal situation, they'll both fall asleep down here, but I also have a feeling that Dobby will end up going upstairs through the tunnel and sleeping up here, because Noodle doesn't go up there just yet. So if he can sleep in a new space... Poor lamb, he looks so lost. and Dobby can get used to having him in technically her space, then that should make the transition much easier. Even though it's still the afternoon, I'm gonna make it as dark back here as I possibly can. I've also shut the curtains up there, just so everybody relaxes even more. Noodle has not settled yet in the enclosure. He kind of sleeps for 2-3 minutes, then wakes up and explores ways to get back out. I'd really like it if he would just take a small nap in there, and then I'd move him back into his enclosure. And it's also just good for Dobby and Niffler to get used to him being around. But what's really great is even though he's in new territory and he's feeling obviously a little bit apprehensive and a bit out of place, Dobby has completely relaxed, and Niffler as well has completely relaxed in the space. So it's really just Noodle who has to chill out now. So Noodle actually surprised me and made it all the way to the top of the enclosure by himself, which is great. He decided he didn't want to be down there, and now he knows how to get up and down that tunnel, which is great. The other wonderful thing is that Niffler, who's sleeping at the back there, is completely ignoring his existence. He's not silly, he knows he's there. He's just a lot more of a welcoming ferret. And that's going to give Noodle a chance to sniff out everything else and get comfortable and cozy, get some distance from Dobby and stay out her way, which is being respectful. And speaking of being respectful, someone is trying very hard not to be too enthusiastic about being in the animal room. Sometimes Memphis can't be in here. I don't know if I mentioned, she is not my dog, and Xena, her sister, who's upstairs, is not my dog either. But they're around, so if they're going to be sometimes sharing spaces with animals, it's just good for them to learn how to be more respectful. And I definitely have to keep an eye on Memphis, because given half the chance, she will bolt, she will try and scale the pen, and she will try and get in the ferret's enclosures. So she's also getting used to the new bearded dragon, who she's looking at right now. But we are being very calm in her presence and reinforcing that when she's relaxed and laying down, it's a good thing and she can hang out in the room. And when she starts to fixate or she jumps to her feet, she gets chucked out, which she doesn't like, because she's very much into human companionship. So, what a good girl. That's a good girl. And she's very excitable. That's nice. Noodle is chilling out next to Niffler. He's eating a piece of food that Niffler stashed. Lovely. I've actually just given everybody some food and water together. I'm so annoyed I missed it, but Dobby, who was sleeping in here, came out and noticed Noodle hanging out around here, just sniffing the tunnel, and she tried to beat him up while his back was turned and his head was in the tunnel. He backed out and obviously just ran away from her, just going and then he sought refuge with Niffler, who was laying on the floor just behind that water bowl, and snuggled up to him. It was really cute. I'm hoping I'll get to catch that footage again. But Niffler and Dobby are both having their fill of food and water, and Noodle is actually being super respectful, and even though he loves food, he's letting them eat and drink first. So, interesting little development. This is really nice. Dobby and Noodle are eating and drinking side by side. Dobby doesn't seem to be too bothered by his presence, and Niffler is just at the back there having a nap. This is really great. Oh wait, no, I tell a lie. Niffler's awake. Now, something I'm going to have to do is probably move the other food and water bowl from Noodle's enclosure into this one, because with 3 ferrets, the food is going to go down much faster. And as you can see, Noodle buries his entire face in the food bowl, whereas Dobby and Niffler each take a side because they've always shared. So that's going to be something I have to be cognizant of, always leaving much more food than is necessary so there's no competition, and also making sure that their water is regularly topped up, because Between Dobby and Niffler, I refill their water twice a day, but with Noodle, it's probably going to have to be double that because he consumes a lot. He's still growing and he's young and he's a lot more active. So I definitely want to make sure that everybody has plenty of food and water. And of course, for the rest of the day, I'll be staying in here, but this is really nice progress. I have to say I'm pretty pleased. That's 1, 2, 3 sleepy ferrets. In a weird twist of events, I am actually editing this video right now, and it is 11:19 p.m. Everything's nice and dark now, and I have also not heard a single peep from anyone in hours, which is great. You can't really see, but Niffler is cuddled up with Noodle, which is just wonderful. And what I'm going to do now, oh, there's Noodle waking up. I am going to move him back to his enclosure so that I can go to bed and not have to worry about any kind of bloodshed during the night. But tomorrow we'll be repeating this, and that's where I'm going to leave today's video because I'd say that this is a success. I'm not going to push it too fast. These things take some time to get right, but they're at least now comfortable having him in their enclosure. So win, win. Winner, winner, chicken dinner. Ooh, 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 ooh. And there's Kiba. The Grim. And that is it for today's video. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, leave it a thumbs up. Also remember to hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave them down in the comment section below. Everybody, calm yourselves. Contain the excitement. It's Noodle. That's Noodle making all that noise back there. Dedicate today's video to all the amazing ferret parents of the world out there. I love ferret people. Ferret people are nuts, but I love them. Love them. I love you. You. That was so creepy. Can you tell that ferrets just give me life? Like, just give me ferrets in an IV into my veins immediately. That probably sounds really gross. I apologize. By the way, can you tell that I'm missing a tooth back here because I'm going through having a tooth surgery type thing? I'm missing a tooth, and I will be for a couple of months, so. Hi. It's like a ferret popping out of a tunnel. Also, I misjudged my size when buying a shirt and it's really quite large on me, so yeah, I essentially made the top into a different one just by flopping my arm out, but here we go, we're gonna go handle some ferrets, so the sleeves are back on, even though it's a tent. I don't know what I was thinking. Ooh.